Welcome, dear brothers. Today, we want to talk about the teachings of Padre Pio in the face of the fact that you fall asleep or you lose concentration when you pray the Rosary. Has it ever happened to you that your mind wanders while you pray the Rosary, or that you begin to pray it full of intention and faith, but before finishing you feel as if your eyes begin to close, your body relaxes, and sleep overcomes you, and then when you wake up you do not have the doubt, will my prayer have been valid? I will not have committed a sin. Padre Pio taught how to face all this, and here we want to expose what Padre Pio recommended about how we should consider the prayer of the Rosary. What does it mean to lose concentration or fall asleep, and how to solve it? We want to remind you to subscribe to this channel by activating the bell, and on the screen you will see how to collaborate with our mission on Patreon and also on YouTube, so that this Catholic team of the Americas can continue financing its research that you will not find in another channel. Now, the Rosary is an element of deep connection with God, but surely you have noticed how easy it is to lose concentration. Sometimes it seems that thoughts begin to wander, or that tiredness comes to you, and while you repeat the prayers an involuntary yawn appears. Who has not ever wondered if falling asleep during prayer is a sign that we are doing something wrong? For many, the explanation goes beyond the lack of physical energy. It could be that the enemy is trying to keep us away from a practice as powerful as prayer. When Padre Pio spoke of the power of the Rosary, he was referring to something that went beyond a simple prayer exercise. For him, the Rosary not only brings the peace of God, but is also a protection against the forces of evil. Praying the Rosary is like putting on an invisible but real shield against spiritual attacks. Each Hail Mary and Our Father are not just formulas, but declarations of faith and protection. When you pray the Rosary, you are actually invoking spiritual forces to act in your life, and the evil one, of course, does not want this. And that is why he tries to distract us by making us feel an inexplicable tiredness, or even causing us to fall asleep while we pray. The enemy knows the strength of prayer, especially the Rosary, and then try to interrupt this moment of connection with God in all possible ways. That is why Padre Pio said that if you feel that there is something spiritual behind that tiredness that comes to you, knowing it already strengthens your faith, because you begin to perceive the invisible battle that occurs around you. As one of the greatest saints of the Church understood the challenges we face when trying to stay focused on prayer, and taught that when you feel that evil tries to distract you, you must remember that every prayer made with faith is a victory, even when you do not see results directly. Agreed that there were physical reasons for this falling asleep when praying the Rosary. One is the physical tiredness we feel after an exhausting day, but reminded us that it is a perfect time to give our body and mind to God, even in the midst of tiredness. Another is that the enemy tries to divert us from prayer, especially when it is powerful and effective, and the inexplicable tiredness and distractions could in fact be a spiritual attack. But the solution is to persist. Remember that prayer is a spiritual battle, and every word that you say, it is a shield against attacks. But also Padre Pio taught that in some situations God actively allows fatigue to invade us to protect us from even more intense spiritual attacks. In times of great spiritual warfare, God may allow us to experience temporary rest to preserve our inner strength. That is why if you feel sleepy during prayer, do not despair. Instead of seeing it as an obstacle, see it as an invitation to trust in God. The Lord knows our interior and values every effort made with genuine faith. If you fall asleep while Praying, do not feel discouraged, because God looks not only at the physical act of praying, but at the intention and the heart behind the prayer. He sees our inner struggle to connect with Him. And also, when we pray the Rosary, we are also asking for the intercession of Mary, the mother of Jesus. And she told a case that gives us comfort. In a small town in Italy, an old woman had a fixed nightly routine. When finishing the tasks of the day, she would sit in her favorite chair, take her rosary, and begin to pray. And always when the third mystery came, she would fall deeply asleep. Hours later, she would wake up with a rosary still in her hands. For her, that eye was a sign from Mary, as if the Mother of God completed the prayer while she rested. And this gives to think that you can even ask the Blessed Virgin to complete the entire rosary for you if you fall asleep, or perhaps your guardian angel Padre Pio suggested some strategies when distractions and tiredness attack us while praying the rosary. Changing your position can be an effective way to refocus your attention. If you are sitting and you see that your mind begins to wander, try to stand up or change your seat or position. Another practical suggestion from Padre Pio is to take brief pauses between prayers, such as taking a moment to breathe deeply, and in the most complex cases, divide the prayer of each mystery throughout the day. But the most important key that Padre Pio leaves us is that perseverance in prayer is a battle in itself. You have to remain that every prayer done with perseverance has an eternal value, and even when your body asks for rest, you will be fulfilling the will of God and strengthening your faith in a way that perhaps do not immediately perceive. And always remember the example of the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. On that occasion, a Christian fleet faced the Muslim Ottoman Empire, far superior in number and armament, and before the battle, Pius V asked the faithful to pray the Rosary, trusting that this prayer would bring victory, and surprisingly the victory came unexpectedly for the Christian fleet, and the Pope attributed it to divine intervention through the Rosary, and from there arose the celebration of Our Lady of the Rosary. Well up to hear the teachings of Padre Pio on how to interpret the loss of concentration and fall asleep while praying the Rosary, and how to handle it. Now, if you liked what we tell and analyze, mark that you like this video, and please share it with your friends, and leave us your comment. For example, I would like to ask you, there are times when you lose concentration or fall asleep praying the Rosary, and what do you do?